During the 2020 primaries, we were told that all we needed of Joe Biden was his corporeal form. I kid you not. There was an article titled "Stay Alive, Joe Biden." That was it. The idea was that there was enough hatred of Donald Trump among Democrat voters. It didn't matter who ran. So probably what happened was they looked at Buttigieg or Yang or whoever else and said, let's not waste an up and coming young star. Throw Joe Biden out there because he doesn't got to do anything. And it was surprising to many of us who paid attention and knew that Joe Biden would be awful. And here he is. So Joe Biden effectively, he gets elected through what I refer to as Trump being anti-elected, meaning people voted against Trump. Obviously, Joe Biden wasn't even campaigning, but this brings us to potential 2024 races. And do you think Joe Biden's going to win? No. It may have worked one time, along with a lot of other strategies, like the shadow campaign, Time magazine called it, where powerful individuals came together and strategized on how to defeat Donald Trump, changing rules and laws, and there were lawsuits and a lot of other things happened. And Joe Biden ends up becoming president. What are you going to do now in 2024 with record high gas prices, record high inflation? Right now, Democrats are desperately searching for an alternative, knowing they cannot run this man again. It's simple. Joe Biden will be 82 years old by the time he assumes his second term, assuming he does. And he will be 86 by the last year of his term. And that's a big number. Look, Joe Biden has a storied career, as it were. Let's give him that. I'm not a fan of Joe Biden or what he represents. I'm not a fan of his policies or what is he at, 51 years in office or some ridiculous number? Let the man sunset, sit down in his wheelchair or his rascal, wheel off into the sunset, put a blanket on his lap, or he can just sit and fall asleep. So I don't think they can run this guy again. I don't think he's going to win. The other day we were talking with Robert Barnes. You may know Robert Barnes, Viva and Barnes, they do a show together. And he said he doesn't think the January 6th committee is going to go after Trump with a criminal referral. Why? Because if Donald Trump gets indicted, Ron DeSantis runs. And the Democrats stand no chance against Ron DeSantis. DeSantis is insanely popular. And over on Predict It, it goes back and forth as to DeSantis going to be the next Republican nominee or maybe Trump. Now, Ron DeSantis says he won't run if Donald Trump is running. But many speculate that we may get a Trump-DeSantis ticket, which would be incredible. I mean, that's a landslide ticket. Okay, figuratively landslide. I mean, that's a ticket that probably does really well. The funny thing now is you actually have, I think it's what is on The View. They're like, Pete Buttigieg, Kamala Harris, that will crush Trump and DeSantis. Are you kidding me? Democrats are so desperate. That's the best they can offer. Let me show you the polling. Let me show you the new polling. Democrats have lost Latino voters. Republicans are actually making tremendous gains against young black men. Regular people in general are showing up to gas stations and they're seeing a sticker of Joe Biden pointing to the price saying, I did that. And they're going, you sure did, Joe. Jake Paul comes out and he says, if you voted for Joe Biden and you don't recognize or you don't regret it, you are the American problem. Democrats, if they run Joe Biden, who apparently says he's going to be running again, if they run him, then, okay, maybe this time you get your figurative 49 state landslide. Landslides have happened in the past, and we are dealing with unprecedented times. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and that may mean that regular people just say, I don't care, give me the mean orange man. It's almost like a big ask. Donald Trump couldn't cut it in 2020 because people just really didn't like him. Blame the media. But now things are so bad, I don't know if there is a word that could be said by the press that would make someone be like, okay, yeah, I'll vote for Biden again. So they have no choice. This is where we're headed now. Of course, there's also the possibility of a constitutional crisis. Over in New Mexico, Otero County is still refusing to certify the election and rejecting a court order. And here's the crazy part. No one knows what will happen if they don't do it. We're just sitting there scratching our head like, what do we do now? There's no results. One election commissioner said, what's the point of a commission if a court can just force you to do something? So he's saying, nah, I'm not going to do it. The midterms are going to get really interesting. 2023 is primary season and 2024 is going to be bonkers. So let's see. 2023 primary elections. It's going to be crazy. And then you get the actual campaign in 2024. Oh, man, I hope you are ready. Strap on your safety belts, my friends, because this is going to get nuts. Let's read the news and figure out what's going on in Democrat world as they're trying to dump Joe Biden. Before we do, head over to timcast.com and become a member to help support our work directly. We need you. As a member, you are supporting our journalists, writing important stories about Julian Assange's extradition. That's Adrian Norman. We're also hiring more journalists and working to put together a fact-checking organization so we can use your support by going to timcast.com, clicking that sign up button and signing up. You will also get access to exclusive segments of the Timcast IRL podcast Monday through Thursday at 11 p.m. And you're supporting our infrastructure because we are using Rumble's cloud infrastructure and video player to get away from big tech censorship. So again, timcast.com, but don't forget, smash that like button right now, subscribe to this channel, and share this video everywhere. The most powerful way to help is just sharing the video. Let's read that first story from Yahoo News. Democrats are weighing whether Biden should decline to run for re-election in 2024, report says. Now I'm going to pause right there. You're going to be saying, Tim, you said Democrats want to replace the guy. Not that they're weighing it. No, I know. This is just the latest story. We also have this one from May 24th from New York Mag. There has to be a backup plan. There's a backup plan, right? Inside the 2024 soul searching that's happening in every corner of the Democratic Party. They are basically saying, we must run somebody else. I don't think they want to admit it. You've had journalists ask the press secretary, is Joe Biden running again? And they have no choice but to be like, of course. Joe Biden is a strapping young lad of of robust cognitive faculties. Come on, no one believes that. They didn't say that literally, I'm joking. But here's the story from Yahoo News. Last December, President Joe Biden told ABC News that he planned to run for re-election in 2024 if he remained in good health. I'm going to pause right there. Considering Joe Biden is not in good health, he must certainly mean he's not going to be running, but sure. Earlier this year in Brussels, he said he'd be very fortunate if his 2020 opponent, former President Donald Trump, sought a rematch. However, an increasingly vocal segment of Democrats rattled by Biden's middling approval ratings, concerned about his age, worried about the lack of voter enthusiasm heading into the 2022 midterms, are questioning whether the president should seek re-election in 2024, according to the New York Times. Many Democratic lawmakers are pondering Biden's standing in the party, with the base deeply appreciative of the 79-year-old former Delaware senator and two-term vice president for defeating Trump at the ballot box in 2020. I don't buy it. That's what I told Steve Bannon. Trump got anti-elected. When you looked at voter enthusiasm for Joe Biden, it was in the gutter. Come on, leftists and young people were not enthusiastic about Joe Biden. But these same people, their enthusiasm for voting against Donald Trump was through the roof, comparable, if not higher, than Trump supporter enthusiasm. And that was an overlooked predictor of what was to come. So I certainly think so. I do think if you have questions about rule changes or ballot harvesting, let's make sure we answer them, because I want a good, clean fight. No hitting below the belt. I want to make sure that come November, people are confident in the results. I want to make sure that come 2024, people are confident in the results. And that's why I say to all of Trump supporters, have the audits, have the investigations, have the signature verification, do all of it, get it done so we can move on and then have a legitimate election. But I tell you this, I'm sure there are a lot of Democrats who are crossing their fingers that they can use Donald Trump's own statements against him. Because when they lose, they're going to say, but wait, they did it in 2016. Let's not play that. We know that polls are swinging heavily in favor of Republicans, which means quite simply, win it. Go out and vote. Get your friends to vote. What were they saying before? MAGA 3 times or whatever? You bring 3 people with you to the polling place, to your designated polling place. Vote. Win the election. Crush it. They say. There also appear to be questions about his ability to lead, this is Biden, a hyper-polarized country, especially as Republicans currently remain in a strong position to regain control of one or both houses of Congress. Democrats have a wafer-thin majority in the House and the Senate and have struggled to pass major pieces of legislation. And the GOP is looking to 2024 to win back control of the White House, particularly if Trump decides to run again. Yeah, we all know Trump is running. Come on, let's be serious. Here's the story from the New York Times. Should Biden run in 2024, Democratic whispers of no start to rise. In interviews, dozens of frustrated Democratic officials, members of Congress, and voters expressed doubts about the president's ability to rescue his reeling party and take the fight to Republicans. Midway through, this is from June 11th, through the 2020 primary season, many Democratic lawmakers and party officials are venting their frustration. So it's effectively the same story we saw over at Yahoo. So let's move on to the more overt panic from Intelligencer. I love this. There has to be a backup plan. There's a backup plan, right? Here we go. Oh, they're doing one of these on a Tuesday evening in April, nearly half a century after Joe Biden first publicly mused about running for president. An unsettled cross-section of the Democratic establishment assembled at Pinehurst, a golf resort in North Carolina. Inflation was at a 40-year high. Full stop. A 40-year high, 6 months in a row. Shove off, dude. Biden's disapproval rating is at 56%. And editors of the New York Times were writing a front-page report about how his signature achievement, $1.9 trillion in coronavirus relief spending, has barely registered with voters. I love that quote. Joe Biden's like, don't criticize us for massive spending. We're changing lives here. It's like, yeah, changing lives for the worse. Gas prices are through the roof and inflation is at record highs. Come on, man. Here we go. The lobbyists, donors, staffers, and elected officials were gathering for the spring policy meeting of the Democratic Governors Association, and the scheduled sessions concern such topics as healthcare and diversity in governance. But between panel discussions in the hallways and at the cocktail reception on the lawn, conversation shifted from grim, the midterms, to grimmer. Ooh. The state of the party's planning for 2024, when Biden will stand for re-election on the eve of his 82nd birthday. Oh, man, I'm sure they had to throw up in their mouths a little bit. Biden hasn't formally announced his campaign for a second term. But in his mind, there's no question he's running. That's my expectation. He said early in his tenure, yes, he told an interviewer, he had to. Now, I'll tell you what. If Joe Biden is not running, they need to announce now. Like they've got only a few months because they need to start Democratic primary campaigning. Okay, here's how it goes. They need to start taking people like Gavin Newsom. You see, Gavin Newsom joined Truth Social. Okay, he's running, right? Gavin Newsom, Pete Buttigieg, Kamala Harris, whoever it is, they got to have a primary. Maybe they step back and say, go for it, Kamala. We're going to give you the chance. But she can't even win. She didn't even get one delegate. Tulsi Gabbard got more delegates than Kamala Harris did. So what are they going to do? They need to start murmurs now to give people a chance to mull over, to do polls, to try and figure out who is the top contender now. Then come 2023, you will start to see people stand up and say, okay, we're running. By early 2024, you will see hard debates between the frontrunners in this primary. If they wait, if they aren't planning now, then they will be late to the party. So we should know relatively soon, unless they are so out of their minds that they don't know how to deal with this and they can't make a decisive action. But you know what? I got to be honest. Considering the state of the Democratic Party, I'm convinced they're in shambles. They have no idea what's going on. Look at this image that Intelligencer used for Joe Biden. It makes him look like he's just not there anymore. Oh, man. He was never there to begin with, I guess. Here we go. Oh, I love this one from the New Republic. Democrats who want to replace Biden in 2024 have lost touch with reality. No! You had one chance left. They should be worried about their party's dismal electoral prospects this fall. But making a swap at the top of the ticket isn't the solution. Lost touch with reality? Okay, I think you have. Reality is Joe Biden could maybe pull off something against Trump because people didn't like Trump, but he's certainly not pulling off something again. Not with his performance at this level. People genuinely believed everything's bad because of Trump. Now it's worse under Biden. So they're going to say, give me back Trump, please. Okay, well, here you go. Joe Biden is old. 79 years old now. He will be 82, and the next president is inaugurated in 2025. He is also underwater in the polls. According to 538's poll of polls, fewer than 40% of voters rate his presidency positively. Okay, well, let's go through the numbers. Let's go right for it. We got the President Joe Biden job approval. Job approval on the economy, on foreign policy, blah, blah, blah. Here's the average. USA Today Suffolk just released a poll showing his approval rating at 39%. His disapproval at 58%. His spread in aggregate is minus 14.9. Over here at Interactive Polls, you ready for this? President 2024 general election. Trump with 44% to Biden's 42. Wow, that's amazing. Among Hispanics, Trump is at 39 to Biden's 28. Yo, that's apocalyptic. Donald Trump is 11 points up among Hispanics next to Biden. Granted, Hispanics still don't like Trump all that much. Among independent voters, this is it. Trump is at 47% to Biden's 28. You've lost. That's it. Donald Trump has the middle of the road. He has about half of independents. That's huge. And there it is. The swing voters. How do you expect to win? Well, The View host Sonny Hostin has an idea. Harris Buttigieg 2024 ticket would obliterate Trump or DeSantis. And that has to be the most psychotic thing I've ever heard. You think Kamala Harris, who is very unpopular and didn't get a single delegate, would beat Ron DeSantis of tremendous popularity? You think Pete Buttigieg, who's as generic as a candidate can beat someone as popular as Ron DeSantis or Trump? Now, Trump's got his haters for sure. The Washington Times reports, the ladies of The View can't wait for the 2024 Dream Ticket. Kamala and Mayor Pete. In a segment Tuesday, co-host Sonny Hostin called Florida Governor Ron DeSantis a murderous fascist. Death Santis, she deliberately called him, who would easily be defeated by that ticket. She said that if President Biden did not run for re-election, as a number of Democrats are speculating about or even hoping for, Vice President Kamala Harris and Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg would be great as a ticket. Do you really think they could win? Really? Asked co-host Joy Behar. Mr. Biden defeated both of them on his way to clinching the 2020 Democratic nomination. Well, I would vote for them, Ms. Hostin gushed. I hope this country is ready for something like that. I think the brain power alone would just obliterate Donald Trump or Death Santis. Ms. Hostin suggested there were other good Democratic candidates, especially the pretty ones. I do think there are plenty of Democrats that have tons of verve and energy. I like Gavin Newsom because he's really pretty to look at. Yeah, okay. As long as it isn't the governor of Florida. I hope it's not Death Santis over in Florida because I think he's a fascist. Why? What did he do? I think he handled COVID miserably. I think he's a fascist and a bigot. Ms. Behar then put in, those are good points, except more people are moving to Florida than any other state. Certainly people love what he's doing over there, right? All right. Give us the breakdown, CNN. Tell us, what is the ranking in the 2024 Democratic field? Chris Cillizza is basically saying, yeah, well, it might not be Joe Biden. So who do we have? Chris Murphy. Who? Who? Yeah, nobody knows who that is. Come on. The Connecticut senator is at the center of negotiations of a new legislation for guns, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Roy Cooper. Who? Seriously? A Democrat in North Carolina. Okay. Well, that was number 10 and number 9. Here we go. Number 8, Cory Booker. All right. Well, we got Cory Booker. I'm sorry, dude. Cory Booker is B tier, and we all know it. He's Spartacus. Yeah, I don't think people are going to take this guy seriously. New Jersey senator. Next up, we have Amy Klobuchar. Klobuchar is also B tier. Yeah, I just don't see it. Bit player. Now, Joe Biden, I hate to admit it, but despite all of the guy's shortcomings, he has more gravitas than the rest of these so far. That's why I think they said we got to go with Joe Biden. He was already vice president. He was there and people felt that. But you look at Cory Booker and Amy Klobuchar, you're not thinking I could see them as president. I got to be honest, Joe Biden either, but I would say, more so than these two. Elizabeth Warren, oh, spare me. She's not. That's ridiculous. Next up, we have Gavin Newsom at number 5. Okay, Newsom I can see. That guy looks like a hot shot business type, an 80s businessman, as it were. Maybe Gavin Newsom. He does come off as like a generic kind of presidential. I don't mean presidential in like his abilities. I mean like you look at him and you're like, that could be a president, right? President Newsom. We'll see. Still, I don't think so. I don't think Newsom has what even Biden had, and Biden's brain doesn't even work. Next up, we got Pete Buttigieg. Sorry. Pete Buttigieg is a bit player, and they keep trying, but it ain't going to happen. Bernie Sanders. Okay. Bernie, I can see. The man talks with vigor. And people really like him. They do. I think he's duplicitous like most of these Democrats, but I certainly see Bernie as having more than any of these other candidates because he's got that energy about him. I really do. I see Bernie Sanders as an A class A, right? He's not B tier. He's A tier. Doesn't mean I think he can win. Not against Trump or DeSantis. Then they put number 2 at Kamala Harris. Oh, please. She's the bottom of the barrel. And then Joe Biden. They say, number 1, there is zero question that Biden is in bad political shape at the moment. Approval ratings in the high 30s, gas at $5 a gallon, inflation the highest it has been in 40 years. There's also zero question that if Biden decides he wants to run for a second term, he will almost certainly be the party's nominee and probably won't have to fight all that hard for it. It's an open question as to whether that is the best thing for Democrats nationally. Are you seriously saying you think Joe Biden is number 1 at 82 years old running for re-election? Yo, just stop. I'll tell you, Democrats have no idea what they're doing, and let them spiral. Here's the story from the Wall Street Journal. Why Democrats are funding the GOP fringe. Hoping to face the weaker candidates, they're running ads that help the far right. What? You're spending your money to prop up Republicans? Oh, Democrats, what are you doing? Oh, this is what they're doing. Here we go. Come on. From timcast.com. Poll. Inflation top concern for over 90% of all voters. More people are concerned with the economy now than in previous month. You think? Why would Democrats believe that funding far-right candidates, doing the January 6th committee, you think this is going to save you? They don't learn, do they? They're insane. That's just it. Look, I don't know what's going to happen with the primaries. I don't know what's going to happen in the midterms or the election. Maybe, to my surprise, Amy Klobuchar wins. I can't see the future. Don't ask me. I can certainly tell you, though, there's a real potential for a constitutional crisis. It's not going to go the way you think it will. In 2020, Trump and his associates were screaming fraud. There were lawsuits, and ultimately we got a very interesting lawsuit. It was original jurisdiction. 48 states all involved in lawsuits against each other over whether or not certain states handled their elections properly. I believe it started with Texas. I mean, that's crazy. This country was on the verge of tearing itself apart as half the states were suing the other half or something like that. Ultimately, I believe the Supreme Court said, get out of here. We are not looking at this. My attitude is just to win. Get so many votes, prove it just to win. Otherwise, it's all going to be torn apart. Now we're heading into the midterms, and right now we have this from WHSV. New Mexico election crisis intensifies as deadline looms. Here's the story. Republican Commission in Otero County, New Mexico, refused to certify the results of the election, saying, we don't trust these voting machines from Dominion. Well, personally, I don't like proprietary voting machines. I think they should be public, open source. But here we go. A standoff between a Republican-dominated county commission and New Mexico's Democratic Secretary of State over the commission's conspiracy-fueled refusal to certify election results came to a head, the state's certification deadline. The showdown is proving a stark example of the chaos that election experts have warned about, as those who promote the lie that former President Donald Trump was cheated out of re-election seek to populate election offices across the country and the usually low-profile boards that certify the results. The governing commission in Otero County refused to certify the local results. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I told this story yesterday. Here's the thing. The Secretary of State filed a suit. The court said, you must do it. The Secretary of State's office asked the Attorney General to investigate. There was a court order. They say it can be felonies if there's a violation of ethics, if the action is willful. At least one of the 3 county commissioners, Commissioner Coy Griffin, told CNN he was not planning to vote for certification. Quote, why have a commission if we just get overridden by the court system? It was not immediately clear what would happen next if the county refuses to certify its results. A typically ministerial duty, but one that has drawn the spotlight since Trump tried to pressure some certification boards in the aftermath of the presidential election in 2020. Okay, I've got a serious question. What does happen? No one seems to know. Are we all just going to stand around shrugging? And they're going to be like, but you have to certify the results. It's ministerial. And then the response from them is, if that were the case, you wouldn't need the commission anyway. In which case, seems like there's a stalemate and no one knows what's going to happen. I don't. No, I think things are going to get crazy. Well, I should say, I think things can get crazy. They're basically saying, we don't care what the courts say. There, at least this one guy is. AP has the story. Election crisis intensifies. So the deadline's today? What happens if he just says, yeah, see what happens? What if this is testing the waters? Come November, let's say, to the shock of Trump supporters, Democrats end up doing better than polls suggested, which makes no sense because we know that the polls favor the Democrats. All of a sudden, these Republicans say there's no way. All the data suggests otherwise. This doesn't make sense. And then you get a wave. Let's say 300 counties refuse to certify. Let's say even 17, 20 members of Congress are not certified. What happens on January 3rd? Who goes to D.C.? What if a bunch of these counties send more than one person? Yeah, that's where things get weird. If Republicans refuse to certify or en masse certify the results they deem to be appropriate, or anyone does, Democrats or Republicans, then what happens when you have two politicians from one district? It's not just about Democrats either. Part of the chaos is also Robbie Starbuck in Tennessee. They boot him off the ballot for no reason. It's completely corrupt. What if people vote him in? What if he wins independent voters? What if people vote for a write-in candidate, Robbie Starbuck in Tennessee? What happens if he does manage to win? And then the GOP says no, and they say we won't certify those results. You really got to wonder, huh, to see where this will go. Biden DOJ thwarts GOP senators seeking answers on Hunter Biden investigation. Conflict of interest. This is why I am no fan of the Bidens, and I think we need change. Because the corruption isn't just in the election. It's not just whether or not we are going to get clean results and accept them. It's the fact that under Joe Biden, there is rampant corruption, and we all know it. So what do you do, man? I don't know. I can tell you it's the economy, stupid. I can say that Democrats don't play by the rules. Here's another story from Timcast. Democrat legislators announced plan to subvert SCOTUS decision that overturns Roe v. Wade. Don't forget Casey, Adrian. Overturns Casey as well, Casey v. Planned Parenthood. 25 senators urge Biden to take executive action. You can't do that. But he might try. And then if Joe Biden does, here's what happens. The president issues an executive order. Trump did this. And then it's incumbent upon the people to challenge it to the Supreme Court. That's insane. The president can just do it, and then we have to cross our fingers and hope we can make it to a legal battle to win. This is where things are going. Personally, I think the Democratic Party is in shambles, which means victory is looming for Republicans to a degree we've not seen in a long time. The silent majority, as it were. But Democrats have lost the plot. Everything they're saying and doing, their support for the far left extremists. That's why I think civil war seems all but inevitable. I mean, you take a look at what's going on in New Mexico. To go back to that story. What happens when two slates of electors in 2024 show up to cast their vote? We had this almost in 2020. It was funny. I did a story and I said GOP electors cast ballot for Donald Trump. And then I had, I think it was some fact-checking agency was like, this is fake news, Tim. And then I was like, no, it isn't. They literally did. And they were like, but they weren't certified electors. I didn't say they were. In fact, at the beginning of the video, I literally said they weren't certified electors. I said it was the GOP slate of electors. What else do I call them? That's what it was. And they literally signed off on their own slate. Democrats tried claiming that it was a coup attempt by doing so, but they did it with Nixon and Kennedy, you know? The fact that no one will agree and that everything is a coup attempt says to me that we are just dangerously close to that point. Coy Griffin is awaiting sentencing over his involvement in January 6th to whatever degree it was. I'd imagine it wasn't as crazy as they say because they're all like misdemeanors. Maybe that's why he's saying, I'm not certifying. I'm going to jail anyway, right? Maybe he's saying, I don't trust it. I won't trust it and I won't stand for it. Steve Bannon wants more conservatives to become poll watchers and poll workers, election workers. So what happens when he gets his wish and in 2 years' time, half of poll workers are diehard Trump supporters? What happens when they say you can't make us certify anything? What happens when the courts say, if you don't, we'll hold you in contempt, and they say, do it? We don't know. That's the interesting thing. If they can't get certification and there's a legal battle and then no representatives or elected officials actually go to office, I'm sure you'll end up with Democrats and Republicans sending their reps, and it'll be like the 1800s all over again. And then what? Oh, civil war? Maybe eventually you get someone caned in Congress or the Senate, just like in the 1860s. My friends, I can't see the future. One thing I can say for now, Joe Biden doesn't have it. Democrats don't have anyone to replace him, and they know it, and they are frantic and panicking. And that means Donald Trump probably has a clear path straight towards a re-election in 2024. And we all know what that means for Democrats. To them, it's apocalyptic. I don't think they could beat Ron DeSantis because they had nothing against him. I mean, like, they'll try and smear him and call him a fascist. With Donald Trump, look, Trump made some mistakes, don't get me wrong. So they're hoping they can go up against Trump to beat him. But I don't think they can beat Trump either. Joe Biden has just gutted this country and ripped it to its core. So what'll they do if Trump DeSantis is the 2024 ticket and it wins? You think they're going to sit back and be like, good game, everybody, shake the hands and be like, well, we'll try again next time? Or do you think they're going to start pulling out their hair, screaming and banging their heads on the wall? I think it could only get worse. 2020 was bad. 2024 will be worse. It's going to be an exaggeration, an escalation of everything. It's already happening. I don't know. Maybe they'll try running Joe Biden because they're crazy people. And then when Joe Biden loses to like astounding numbers, because he's like Jimmy Carter, worse than Carter, Trump wins that landslide. Yeah, we'll see, man. I do think Democrats got to get Joe Biden out of there and get somebody else, but I don't think they got anybody else anyway. Maybe it'll be Newsom. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up tonight at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.